What is illegal, but completely moral? Buying booze on Sunday. Whistleblowing. It's sad how quickly we've forgotten people who have thrown away their careers and often risked their lives to share confidential information that's exposed wrongdoing. At least in my city, feeding the homeless. Not sure how it is in other states, but in California it's illegal to feed other people's meters. So you can't play Good Samaritan and walk down the street with a bag of coins making sure people don't get tickets. Edit. I don't know how to spell. Buying a beer for a guy who lost an arm in Afghanistan. He's 18. In the city my mom used to live in, it was illegal to give rides to people at a bus stop. My mom stopped and gave a ride to a woman who was running to catch a bus and missed it. The police pulled her over and told her it was illegal because people were using their cars to undercut the city buses. I'm not sure why it had to be a law. I get the safety aspect, but it seems like the whole purpose was to write tickets and keep people riding the city bus. Pirating content that has been abandoned and can't even be purchased anymore. An out of print book. Or a game that isn't sold anymore. Wild camping in England. There is nothing wrong with it and people do it all the time. Cannabis. At this point most people understand that prohibition does not work. Disconnecting from the power grid in certain areas is illegal. Using solar energy for free. Spain is different. Pirating legally mandated technical standards such as building codes that are paywalled. If everyone is expected to follow the law, everyone should have free access to all of the content of the law. The people who write the copyrighted text of the building code need to be paid for their work. Fine. When the govt adopts the building code as law, it should be treated like eminent domain and the authors should be paid by the taxpayers. Same as the taxpayers pay when the government takes land to build a road. Only in this case they are taking a copyrighted work. Not anymore, but sodomy used to be illegal. It was especially funny considering sodomy laws were made by bigots who wanted to squash gay sex but didn't realize that those BGs they get from their wives on their birthday every year is sodomy as well. Distilling your own alcohol. Without a permit, I can grow all the stuff myself. Legally, I can make booze up to a certain strength. Legally, but I can't legally heat it up and let it cool down in order to improve the flavor and alcohol content, even if my only goal is to drink it myself. Unless someone tells me it's okay. I'm not saying I want to make my own bathtub moonshine, but giving and or receiving oral sex is illegal in 18 states still, including the one I live in. Love breaking this law as often as possible. Eating a Kinder Egg in the US. Telling a juror about nullification. Planting vegetables in your front yard instead of growing grass. Collecting and storing rainwater. It's illegal to turn right at a red light in my city, but it's fine everywhere else in the province. Some schools have a policy where if you and your friend are both drunk, and one of you needs medical attention, the other can call for help without getting in trouble through school policies, like underage drinking, etc. However, on the opposite side, if the school doesn't have this rule, if you turn your friend in to get medical attention, you can also get in trouble via school policies. This causes a couple people to think twice before helping your friend, which is completely ludicrous. In many countries, euthanasia assisted suicide. Sure, there are steps that would need to be taken to ensure it wasn't abused. But can you seriously tell me it's ethical to force someone to endure an unavoidable, long, agonizing death rather than just anesthetize them and administer a lethal injection that would be far less traumatic for all involved? Pirating games which can't be bought legally anymore. This story happened when I was growing up. A guy liked a girl. She was very beautiful and everyone liked her. The guy and the girl had a passive friendship which just included nice hellos. One day he tells her that he really liked her and that he would like her to be his girlfriend. She refused and told him that she didn't like him that way and they go their separate ways. All good, right? Hell nah. The guy mobilizes his friends and himself, making 5 in total. Waited for her at a place she walked regularly and gang raped her. Girl refuses to come out of her house for months and we later found that they had to have someone with her at all times so she wouldn't kill herself. The moral but illegal part? Her brother joins a cult group, or if you're American, a gang. This gives him backing and access to weapons, and he uses his newly found resources to locate and kill 4 of the 5 guys. The last one was caught for another crime and was in prison for a while. I tell you, hell hath no fury like a brother on a revenge mission for his only sister. He waits patiently for the guy to finish his sentence, finds out his release date, and once he was released, they tracked him and gutted him, then hacked him to pieces. It took him about 3 years to get each one, but he got all of them. Sorry for the wall of text. Finding the kid bullying your own kid and beating him with a sack of oranges. A huge reminder that just because something is law, that doesn't make it right. Removing DRM from DVDs, music, etc. that you bought, so you can play it on devices you own. I buy a DVD while on holiday. It's region locked so I can play it when I get home. But if I dare to try and remove that region locking on something that I own, I'm in the wrong. How about when we buy something, we can ducking use it? Similar thing. I would gladly pay for something like Netflix if it meant I had access to the content. But in Spain I don't get that. I have to wait for 80 dubs of things months behind the rest of the world. I remember when Game of Thrones was on season 4 in English. We only just got season 2. So, I pirate it. That's illegal, yet no legal method is offered to get it. Being able to legally consent in the UK but can't watch porn for another 2 years. Not that anyone cares if you're 18. My dad is a criminal defense lawyer, and one of his recent clients is being tried for food stamp fraud because he had to take food stamps in exchange for cash or non-food stampable goods, such as alcohol, in order to keep his job. The dude didn't get anything out of it, he just operated the till and didn't want to lose his job. What the duck is a random Iraqi immigrant supposed to do in that situation? Pumping your own gas in New Jersey. Pulling the skimmers off of atoms. Treating a child without the parent's consent. Scenario normally goes: kids are at soccer practice and the child gets drop kicked in the face. Non-emergency care. Medical professional is there, normally a parent of a teammate, and treats the kid. Technically, this practice is illegal because the child is under 18 and needs verbal written consent from the legal guardian. Feeding the homeless in public in Florida. Smoking or eating THC to alleviate pain. Shooting or beating up a house intruder. No joke, people broke into houses, got beat up by the people living there, and then sued the house owners for monetary compensation. The US government helped a US large corporation own the rights of all water in a municipality, such that even collecting rainwater from one's rooftops required getting a license from Bechtel. More than first, the World Bank refused to renew a $25 million loan unless water services were privatized. Then US water giant Bechtel stepped in and took control. It raised water rates by an average of 35%, meaning Bolivians earning $100 per month were paying a monthly rate of $20 for water. People even had to obtain licenses to collect rainwater from their roofs. Filming inside slaughterhouses. Paying someone else's parking meter if you notice they are about to run out. Pirating games when it's impossible to purchase them legally. Region locking, or you already own a copy for one platform and want it on another. Putting money in other people's parking meters is illegal. I don't know if it's illegal, but when I reached the 5 limit download on songs I purchase from iTunes, I started downloading them for free from less than reputable sites. Eating food drinks from a grocery store that are supposed to be thrown away may not be illegal, but will get you fired or wrote up. Ducking psychedelic mushrooms. Legalize shrooms. In several US states it's illegal to buy milk from a dairy farmer. DR assisted suicide for terminally ill patients. 2 consenting adults paying for 6. For fast food places to give food which is not being bought to people in need. Having a drink on your own front porch. In Tennessee, even though it's rarely enforced, I've seen it used by police to just pile on charges when someone in a domestic dispute rubbed them the wrong way. Biking on the sidewalk. I've never heard of a driver saying, "Gosh, I wish bikes would bike in the road, cause that's the law. Euthanasia, apparently. Illegally downloading research journal manuscripts. I'm literally trying to advance science and you're charging me for it. A working class revolution in order to overthrow the bourgeoisie and seize the means of production. Hacking into JSTOR and making all academic journals freely accessible for all. People have different definitions of morality. Pro-democracy protests in oppressive regimes. In Milwaukee and Chicago, it's illegal for any female to live more than 2 other females, unless they're related. Tax evasion. Going into Portland from Washington just to shop or eat out to avoid sales taxes. Underage drinking. A casual drink with family members every now and then at age 18-19 is perfectly fine. Getting wasted underage often, well, that's a different story. It could be damaging to an underdeveloped brain. I get why the law exists, to protect the stupid people, but it's not immoral to drink underage. Breaking a window to get a dog out of a hot car. I mean, morality is subjective, but incest, polygamy, bestiality, weed, public nudity, etc. I personally can't stand marijuana. I hate the way it smells. Years ago I tried it and I hate the way it reacted with me. It was only a handful of times, lol high school right, but it almost always made me sick. I really can't stand it. But my answer? Cannabis. And those in power. Mob with the exception of windmill tilting sessions. No, it's not a big deal, but it sure is a handy control point for the poor, disadvantaged, and non-white. Any intellectually honest review of the last 40 years should result in an assessment that the war on drugs, and particularly on marijuana, is the immoral path here, and again, those in power know it. Well over $1 trillion spent on the war on drugs so far, and street prices are down, purity is up, ease of access is higher than ever. You don't keep doing something that is failing. So, it's not failing, they're just not honest about the goals. And again, this is coming from someone who barely even drinks. I work in an industry that is subject to random drug testing with zero notice. This is absolutely no hardship or scare for me. Psychedelic mushrooms can help people with depression and terminally ill people come to terms with dying. They are also non-addictive. As the old saying goes, there wouldn't be a law against it if someone hadn't done it. Building a house out of trash rather than letting it pile up in a dump. Glass bottles can be excellent building materials, though can be recycled other ways, but especially things like old tires. Great insulators. Strong. Helping the environment and overall efficiency. Completely illegal. I worked in a court for about a decade. One time, mid-December, a homeless man was brought in for arraignment for stealing. He was cold and came across one of those dumpsters that people can throw clothing donations in. He jumped in and dug through everything until he found a coat. He took only the coat and nothing else. An officer driving by saw him climbing out of the bin and made contact. The man admitted to taking the coat and was arrested and booked on theft charges. He subsequently was found guilty and given a fine that he could clearly never pay. I realize the act of theft is illegal in itself, but I felt like this should have been an exception. The whole purpose of those donation bins is for the items to go to people in his exact situation. Weed. Well, at least here in Australia. Killing someone. My cousin has an abusive husband that hits her, probably rapes her, and has joked that if he wanted to he could kill her dad. Unfortunately, she lives in a country where police are a ducking joke, so leaving and or having him arrested is not an option. Recently he hit her and broke the windows of her mom's house and her sister's car. Police were called but never showed. If someone has a suggestion, I'm all ears because it has got to stop. Edit. Even if she did it in self-defense, she could still go to jail. My mom told me of an old neighbor that went to jail because he locked some thieves that broke into his house and the water cellar, depriving them of their freedom. Riding a donkey on a Thursday. Newly manufactured machine gun ownership outside elite government agencies. SBR, SBS. Suppressor ownership without tax stamps. They're completely moral to own if you're a law-abiding citizen, but yet they're illegal or at least heavily taxed. Riding a bicycle without a helmet. Watching your own homemade porno if you're under 18. In the city my brother lives in, it's illegal for women to drink coffee after 6 p.m. They don't enforce that law, but it is in the law books. Copying a book. Building a machine that infringes on a patent. Making a shirt that says Coca-Cola on it. Copyrights. Patents. Trademarks. Assisted suicide. It's pretty dark to tell a terminally ill patient who's in serious pain that they have to live with the pain until the disease kills them. Everything. Because morality is subjective. It's okay to kill the infidels in the Middle East but not in the US. On the other hand, it's okay to be gay in the US but not the Middle East. See? Subjective. Well placed, well thought out civil disobedience. Consuming homemade narcotics. Consensual poly relationships. I'm specifically thinking ones not grounded in religion. LGBT relationships are still illegal in 74 countries. I can't wait for a future where this count is 0. Selling your own organs. Honestly, I think if people could choose to sell their own organs legally, like a kidney or liver, that they don't need for their own survival, and insurance companies paid the organ donor, the transplant list would be a lot shorter. Reddit's druggies talking about drugs. Prostitution. Consenting adults might not create a market for children. Hopefully, but consenting adults moral. I know a bunch of guys who break federal law on a regular basis by selling each other a beer for $1, and licensed liquor sales. Totes illegal, and a lot of fun at parties. Often the same dollar is traded 20 plus times. Feeding a stranger's expired parking meter. This question depends entirely on an individual's moral code and assumes that morality, or right and wrong, is an objective fact. By some metrics of moral, such as, are you consenting adults? Are you hurting other people? Then, prostitution. Edit. Typo. Underage 6 sexting amongst minors. I don't see anything bad when 15-17-year-old girls share their photos with their BF. With permission of course. But in USA it can be a huge problem. Filtering on a motorcycle at a stop. Hear me out. California allows for motorcycles to filter through stopped traffic to keep the faster accelerating bikes up front where it is also safer. In Florida, if I were to pull the same thing and have an ass for a cop nearby, that's a pretty nice fine. It would help alleviate traffic in the mornings too. In some states, defending your home from would-be robbers. Legitimately illegal to defend yourself in some places. In Maryland, specifically Baltimore, taking a LAN to a movie theater. If that LAN wants to watch a movie, it should have that right. Damn it. Most big cities have a law that makes it illegal to feed a parking meter for a parked car that isn't yours. This is to stop people from putting spare change in meters they notice have expired as a gesture of goodwill, thus depriving the city of their parking ticket income. Of course, these days a lot of parking meters have been replaced with pay and display ticketing systems where it's impossible for a good Samaritan to add time to someone else's ticket, as the ticket must be displayed on the inside of the car. In America, restaurants and grocers can't donate unsold food to shelters. As a result, millions of pounds of food is wasted every year. Providing pre-cooked meals to homeless shelters. I've worked as a production manager, and on my first set, I saw a significant amount of food that was being thrown away from our catering service. I tried to take all the perfectly untouched food to every shelter across Skid Row in LA and was repeatedly told that it's illegal for them to accept it at risk of sick ducks who have poisoned the food in the past.